Hey, brother.
Hey, hey. So
What's
good to
going?
see you, man.
Hey, great to be seen, man. Great to be seen. It's a wonderful day.
It is. It is. How is it down there in Texas? Is that where you're at?
Uh, yeah, yeah. It's a bright and sunny day today. The sun's peeking out through the clouds, so
Love
you
it.
know we're enjoying it.
Love
We're
it.
enjoying. Yeah, yeah, man. Thank you for coming on today, brother.
Hey, it's an honor. I really appreciate you bringing me on, and man, it's good to see you
Yeah, yeah. It wasn't too long ago that we were walking past each other on the road.
in silence,
In noble
noble
silence.
silence, not even looking
Mhm.
at one another.
Yeah, yeah, just like head down, just kind of you're just walking, just walking past. Like, man, that was an experience.
It really was, and it was only what 10 or 11 days ago,
Hmm.
12 days ago that we got back, and what an interesting time it's been coming back to life and, just kind of discovering the ways in which the brain has been rewired after something like that has been amazing.
For sure, for sure. Wait, and Joe, when you say coming back to life, that sounds like a resurrection. Is that what you felt?
It was a rebirth for sure,
Okay.
a reboot, control alt delete, turn it off, unplug it, total reset and restart.
Mm-hmm.
It was a lot of things,
Yeah.
but I do feel like a new person. I do feel as if things have changed in my mind in many ways, some of
Yeah.
which was hoping for, and some of which were completely unexpected.
Okay, so what's one of the unexpected ways that you feel has been reborn in that way? Something. Yeah.
Well, for one, and this is, something that I kind of learned from watching you actually, but my relationship with food has completely changed.
How so?
Like, well, so coming back from the Vipassana and going to the grocery store for the first time,
Hmm.
you know, uh, purchased the normal things that I like to eat, for my breakfast and for my lunches and my evening meal, and I found myself preparing them this past week, and when I sat down to eat, it's not what I wanted. It's not,
Mm.
it felt foreign to me. And I caught myself asking the question, why am I eating this? What is it about this that I enjoy so much? And I realized that that part of my brain had been completely rewired, whether it be the sitting and, paying attention to the sensations of the body, or the diet that we were on when we were there at the center. I'm not sure exactly what it was yet that did it, but my relationship with food has changed. I don't crave the same things that I wanted anymore, and I really don't have a craving for anything really, except very basic foods that are just prepared with, a mindful attitude and not too fancy or flashy.
Hmm.
I've lost my attachment to that.
Wow.
So that's kind of surprising for me,
Wow.
especially as a former chef. That was kind of unbelievable.
Okay, so that's pretty major because I mean, you come from being around food for like constantly. If you're a former chef, then you're around food, you know?
All the time,
Yeah.
all the time, and my relationship with it has totally changed. And that was, like I said, total surprise, but very pleasant. I'm
Okay.
stoked on it.
Okay. So you said, did you feel like it gave you a sense of gratitude or it just shifted your attitude?
Both. I find myself more thankful for what I do have, and um, I think that it just kind of the whole aversion and craving thing.
Mhm.
Um, I I don't crave the same things that I wanted. So um, again, I don't know how to explain this.
Mhm.
I'm still trying to unpack it and figure it out myself. And I feel like I'm going to be unpacking a lot of things over the next few months because that experience was so intense.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think I've changed in more ways than I know in regards to food, and I'm starting to learn that about myself,
Wow.
little by little.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. That is so interesting, you know,
Yeah.
because it's like everyone got a different experience, you know, what happened, what transpired at that Vipassana center, it affected everyone's lives in different ways, you know, and you and I, we were first time students. So
Right.
we hadn't done anything like that before for that extensive amount of time, but you weren't foreign to meditation. I mean, you were already teaching as well, right?
Right. Yeah, I've been a meditation teacher for a while now, and so I wasn't new to sitting for a long period of time or even the daily aspect of it. But it was new for me. It was a new technique, and it was deeper than I had gone before.
Okay. Okay. How did the Goenka technique differ from your own, you know, the one that you had maybe practiced at home?
So actually, it's more alike than it is different, in the sense that you are using equanimous attitude to observe what's going on in your conscious field. And the method that I teach and that I use on a day-to-day basis is more concerned with the thought process than it is the sensations in your body.
Mm.
So it involves, looking at your train of thought and the different emotions and memories that pop up with that attitude of equanimity, instead of looking at the physical sensations in your body, the itch or that pain in your back or in your knee, as it was for me.
Yeah. 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 Oh
and
man.
and
Mhm.
that was a deep dive, and I I know a lot about how the body keeps the
Mhm.
score. We have issues stored in our tissues, as the way my teacher put it,
Mm-hmm.
and I found that Vipassana was really effective at addressing that.
Yeah.
Um, you know, Feeling the different ways that my memories and my traumas,
Mm.
uh, both good memories and bad memories,
Mm-hmm.
the ways in which they're stored in my body and the way that they were manifesting themselves as I just chose to observe them,
Mm-hmm.
instead of categorizing them as good or bad or putting a label on them
Mm-hmm.
or trying to hold on to them. For example,
Yeah.
the ways in which they were coming out and showing up in my body just through observation were, I mean, this is incredible stuff.
For real. For real. You know, all around 100%. It's like, I love how you said it. I haven't heard that before. The issues in our tissues.
I stole that. That was my teacher.
That is awesome, you
Yeah.
know? Because there are so many forms of like, underlying stress,
Yeah.
things that we have suppressed, the things that we have repressed, the things that we haven't addressed, you know? Yeah, yeah.
No, so
There-
poetic always, man. Killing it. Yeah.
there's a lot, So it's like when I saw you come up in that meditation center each time, I told you, Joseph, you were like Luke Skywalker to me.
Oh man.
You had the one golden thread, you had the cloak on your head, man. You were going in there. You were like one with the force,
Well, I will say that I took those group sits very, very
Mhm.
seriously. And, as a teacher, I have been taught about the power of the group sit and
Mhm.
how things can be amplified when you're sitting in a room with other folks who are also making that difficult choice to turn inward and not be afraid about what they
Yeah.
find. That's an incredible environment to be a part of, and I took that very seriously. So most of the time with the hood, that was not a fashion choice. That was just me trying to avoid eye contact with folks so I could, be in the zone, as they say.
Okay. Okay. Did you talked a little bit about like the expectations and even the preparations that you had before you went to this Vipassana. Were,
Yeah.
were there any were there any reservations that you might have had for yourself between that time that you had gotten accepted because you didn't know if they were gonna accept you, you know?
Right. I wasn't sure if my status as a teacher of another discipline was going to hold me back or, get me denied from being a part of the course. But I think after I got accepted, there was some nervousness, there was some trepidation, and there was a lot of anxiety and a little bit of fear about cutting myself off for 10 days and going silent. And I know that that was my ego, and I know that it was outside of my comfort zone, and so my ego was not too happy about that. And it was doing its job. It was trying to keep me safe, but as we know, that's outdated programming. We don't need to be in fight or flight all the time. We have, homes, we have clothes, we have things in our culture and society that are designed to protect us and keep us safe, and our genetic programming has not caught up with that yet. And so I know that it was a natural thing, and I am someone who believes that if you're not a little bit scared or a little bit nervous about something that you're about to do, it's probably not the right thing to do. So
Okay.
I embraced that fear, and I embraced the anxiety, and it was so much more than I could have expected, and all that kind of melted away after the first few days. So
Beautiful, beautiful.
yeah.
So it's almost like fear is kind of like a compass. It's like pointing you to true north. It's like, go here. If that's your fear, go here.
Oftentimes, yes. Oftentimes you need to, pay attention to your fear and treat it kind of gently and with respect, because oftentimes it's telling you where you need to go or your next step. If it's not there, maybe you need to look at that a little closer,
Okay, to examine that. I
Yeah.
like that.
No, that's not to say that all fear is good. Sometimes there's a legitimate reason to be afraid, and you have to listen to that as well,
Yeah.
But when you're doing something big, and when you're about to make a huge change in your life, and it's a healthy change, and it's a change that involves turning inward and becoming your own healer, your ego is going to be agitated, and it's very clever, very, very clever, and it will, speak to you in ways that might try to, get you to turn back and stay in your comfort zone. But it's important to recognize when that happens and move past it.
Yeah, they do say like the language of the subconscious mind is like repetition. It doesn't like to stretch too far out of the zone of the unknown.
Right.
It doesn't like to go too far out of that. So when you talk about the ego, Joseph, so many people, they have different definitions, but how would you define the ego?
Yeah, this is a great question, and this is something that I had to ask my teacher once upon a time because I was struggling with it. But I think it helps to understand the ego as more of a tendency of the mind rather than a thing. I think the ego is the predisposition of your mind to think a certain way when you perceive that you are in danger. And this danger may be real. It may be, due to something that happened to you in the past, or due to something that you're worried about happening in the future. There's a million reasons to be afraid. And, I think fear is something that shows up under a mask sometimes. It shows up as anger. It shows up as sadness, grief, anxiety. It could be under the mask of a number of things. But if we're honest with ourselves, I think that the main reason we do most things in our lives is because of fear. We're either afraid of something happening that we perceive as not positive, or we're thinking about the past and we don't want something to happen again that maybe was difficult for us in the past. And your ego is a big part of that. So your ego steps in when one of these things happened and says like, hey, you better watch it, this has happened before, or hey, look what happened here, you don't want this to happen to you in the future. And that's your ego. And if you want to think about it as a thing, it's your transistor. It sits right at the veil there, right in between your physical self and your physical body, your mind, your intellect. And it's right there at the boundary between all of that you're familiar with and the unknown. You know, your higher self, your higher soul, your collective soul, your connection to source consciousness and source energy is behind that ego. So when your ego gets unbalanced, you have a hard time connecting to that higher metaphysical part of yourself, and that's the trouble that I think many folks are dealing with is an unbalanced ego. They don't have it in check. You don't want to kill it all the way because you need it to be an individual. You know, your ego is what makes you you. It gives you your personality. Like I said, it's your transistor. It's the thing that distills pure conscious energy and, you know, transmutes it down and translates it into this body so you can be a person and exist in the world. So you need it. You don't want to kill it. You just want to, you know, keep it in balance.
Okay. Beautiful explanation. You know, thank you for that breakdown.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
You know, that's managing the ego is a huge part of being mentally healthy, you know, in my mind. And it has you know, your ability to do that is really important when you're looking at healing yourself and going into your mind and, you know, switching a few dials and turning a few knobs.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. You gave me a vision, Joseph, just as you were describing the ego of like Gandalf and Lord of, you know, standing guard, like you shall not pass.
That's right. Hey, it'd be like that though sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
You got to put your foot down and you know, make a stand against your own mind at some point.
For sure. So it's almost like, you know, that defense mechanism, but as well, as you were saying, it's like they say if you are depressed, you are living in the past. If you're anxious, you're living in the future. But if you're at peace, you know, you're living in the present.
Yes. I love that one.
Yeah.
And that's totally true, you know. And that's another one of the takeaways that I think I think it's been most impactful for me, you know, unpacking past week and a half since we left Idaho, is that I feel myself detached from my memories in a very, very new way. Like, and I didn't realize that I was doing this until I got on the mat there at that Vipassana center. And it became, especially in the first 3 days, it became obvious to me that a lot of my trouble in my day-to-day existence is due to my own comparison of the present moment and my memories, or the present moment and what I think should be happening, or the present moment and what I do or don't want to happen in the future. Right. There's a lot of comparing going on and a lot of judgment.
Right.
And you know, working through the body and releasing a lot of that stuff had a huge impact, and I don't feel as connected in that way emotionally to my memories anymore.
Okay.
And that's been a huge flex.
Wow, that is profound. You know, that is profound because I always hear the saying, it's like comparison is the thief of all joy. You know, it robs you of your joy somehow when you're in this constant comparison game.
Right.
And even social media, when we're looking at different people's lives and we're comparing our lives to other people's lives, it can rob us of our joy that way. But it's interesting the way you said your own memories, you know, detach yourself from the comparison of your life today versus your life before or anything else. It just, I keep hearing Goenka's voice in my head, like, what did he say? He's like, Satabada, as it is.
Yeah, as it is. As it is. As it is.
As it is.
Well, that's surprisingly, it's not just the bad memories, right? It's the good memories also that I found were maybe even more detrimental to my own ability to be in the present moment. Because I'm thinking of all these good memories, and at the same time, I had the emotional reaction of like, man, it's never going to be that good again. Or I don't know if I'm ever going to experience anything like that again. It's like, no kidding, you're not. It's done. It's in the past. It doesn't exist anymore. It's the same as the vivid dream I had 2 nights ago. If you think about something that happened to you a week ago, something obscure, you know, you're shopping in the grocery store or you're headed to your day job or whatever, think about that in comparison to a vivid dream you had a few days ago. It's the same,
Yeah.
right? They don't exist anymore. And the good memories, that grasping on of a good memory, like, oh, I don't want to forget about this. That was awesome. That made me feel so good. I felt so alive in that moment. That grasping is just as, if not more dangerous than the aversion to a bad memory, or that cringe when you feel when you think about something that happened in your childhood that didn't go the way you wanted it, or a time in your teen years where you felt like a victim. Holding on to those memories in a different way, telling yourself like, man, I'm going to remember that, so I make sure I never put myself in that position again, or I'm going to be sure that never happens to me again. That's kind of the same, with the good memories and the bad memories.
Yeah.
And so that realization was kind of new for me coming out of that course.
So the things that we're grasping, the things that we're holding on to, that we're afraid to let go, it's like, were you the one that told us, Joe, about Brene Brown in that example on the stage?
I don't think that was me.
Okay, so someone told us about this example, and you'll like this, because it was just a huge parallel. Brene Brown, she's like a motivational speaker. She's wrote so many books about vulnerability.
Right.
She asked a gentleman to come on the stage, and she just wanted to make an example of, the power of emotions. And, she told him to like hold a cup of water, and she said, just hold this cup. That's all I want you to do. And so he said, okay, cool. And so she was like, all right, you're good? He was like, yeah. She was like, how's it feel? He was like, it's nothing, She's like, okay, I'll be back in 5 minutes, be back. So she went and she started talking, she did her spiel, and then she came back to the guy who's still holding the cup, and she's like, how's that cup doing? And he's like, it's good, it's all good. She's like, okay, cool, I'll be right back. And then she goes, she continues to talk to the audience, and he's just standing there holding that cup, and she comes back again, and she's like, how's that cup? He's like, he's holding on to it with two hands because he's trying to steady it. The water is spilling out the sides, everything's going on. And she made that example because she said, the cup never changed. You're still holding on to it.
Right. Right.
And it was like, whoa.
Yeah. Yeah. You're the one doing that, not the cup. The cup
not
is
the
still,
cup.
Yeah, exactly. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
It's like the whole, it's almost like that, one of those Chinese finger traps, like the act of trying to pull your fingers out is what's keeping you in,
Yeah. Yes. It's so
amazing.
toxical.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. So to see those examples play out, in that retreat, in everyone's mind, it at the same time, like people were going through a lot of different things. And it was just interesting to see everyone's perspective when noble silence was lifted. But do you feel like, during that time, as you were going through the many conversations, you had some complications, but you were, going through with the sensations, what do you feel like was another realization or revelation that you had during that retreat that you didn't have going into it?
Oh, there's so many, so many. I think the realization that we were all doing this thing, and that all of us were going to have a unique experience. Now, this is something that I knew was going to happen. From being a teacher, I'm familiar with the idea that everybody's got their own work to do, and everybody is 100% unique in the sense that when we turn inward, we're all going to find a very different thing, and we're all going to find a very different a story or what have you. But being able to talk right at the end for that last day, and kind of hearing about everybody's experience, having gone through it with 9 days of silence in the rearview mirror, that was a way to experience it and feel it. And you could feel the energy coming off one another, and I know that because the moment I walked out of the meditation hall when silence was lifted. You and Sunrise were there, and we just started laughing, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's all we could do, you know, and that was just the most honest outpouring of energy that I felt in a long time, was coming out of that silence and connecting with all you guys.
Yeah.
And just hearing the laughter, because that's what it was, you know. Sam, my roommate, living with this dude for 10 days
Yeah.
in a very small room without talking to one another. You know, we knew one another, but we had never spoken. And I looked at him for the first time after that silence lifted, and it was the same. You know, we just started laughing hysterically,
Yeah.
like harder than I've laughed in a long time. And just, you know, saying to one another, like, what was that we just did? What
did we? Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I didn't expect that. I didn't expect to feel that energy coming off of my fellow students like that. And it was the most amazing feeling. I can't really describe it. Yeah. And I'm sure you'll agree with me when I say that.
Yeah. You know, same here. I had that same feeling when we came into the dining hall and I met my roommate Ryan, and it was like we were meeting for the first time.
Right.
You know, even though we'd been in that space, like you said, that confined space with each other, you know, going to the shower, you going in the hallway this way, you know, just kind of communicating telepathically, you know. When we talked for the first time to each other, he was like, "Hey, Jerome."
Yeah.
You know, like,
yeah.
How's it going, man? Nice to meet you. Like he was smiling, you know, and it was just very, man, just like you say, just like, yeah.
And it's just so honest, you know, and so pure, you know, and having completed that, and I loved that the way that Goenka put it when he talked about the whole process being a self-performed surgery, and the fact that you're going to have to cut yourself pretty deep, and it's going to hurt a little bit when you pull some of this stuff out that you're looking to heal. You know, on the back end of that, having completed it and having done it in that fashion, I think opened all of us up and allowed for that honest outpouring of energy. And again, I totally did not expect that. That was a beautiful thing, and I still feel it. I still feel it, you know.
100%. You know, that whole analogy, and I love that metaphor as well, of the mental surgery, and you're on your own operating table. It's just you and you.
That's it.
And you know, because there were people that didn't go through the whole process. You know, some people, like, they vanished. So
vanished, right?
Yeah,
like vanished, gone.
You know, so it's like, if you leave during the operation is not complete. You know, you might be bleeding out on the table. You might have open wounds, you know, and it's like now leaving before the full surgery, before you've been sewn back up, you know.
You know, so much compassion to anyone who has made an honest attempt at a Vipassana course and has not made it.
Yeah.
You know, I have so much. I hope those that didn't are okay.
Same.
Because it's a very, very intense thing. It doesn't really appear as such as you're walking into it or as you're getting ready, but it's intense, and it's serious business.
Yeah. What do you feel like gave you that resolve, or like that determination to just go fully through with it, you know?
I believe that I put everything out there. It took everything I had to get through there, you know. And there were moments when I was kind of thinking back to things that I hear in yoga classes, things that I heard in my own training as a meditator and as a teacher. Just the idea that, you know, sometimes you have to stop and look in the mirror and say, hey, I'm safe here. I'm supported. I'm loved. I can do this. when you had those moments of wanting to run or wanting to shut down or not do the thing, being able to look at myself in the mirror and say, hey, I'll be okay. This hurts. This is painful right now. But the teaching got me through it, you know, anicca, anicca, anicca.
Changing.
Change. Yes, I feel horrible right now, but I'm going to feel horrible with the understanding that I'm cutting myself open and I'm pulling some stuff out that needs to go. And that's why I'm in pain. And furthermore, this will, you know, this will not last forever. This will change. This will be different in a few minutes. And something that I've learned from my own practice is that if you really give an emotion, or if you give, you know, a sensation, and this is something that Goenka talked about, but if you really give it all your attention and you really treat it gently with, you know, an equanimous attitude, the body can't really sustain it for much longer than 35 or 40 minutes. You know, if you really, and I'm talking about emotions here, not physical pain, but emotions. If you really, you know, lean into an emotion, feel into it, and sit with it and allow yourself to experience it without judging it, you're looking at 35 or 40 minutes, and then it's going to start to taper off. And if you do that, maybe the next time, you know, it's not like it's going to go away forever, but maybe the next time it comes up, maybe sitting with it only lasts for 20 minutes before it starts to go away, you know, and maybe the next time it's 19 minutes, and maybe it goes back to like 25 minutes or 30 minutes once or twice, but eventually it's going to taper down, and you're going to have that memory at some point. And it's a beautiful moment when you have a memory that you've been struggling with, and one day it comes up and you have no reaction to it at all.
Right. That happened.
That's where we're headed, right? Yeah. That's where we're headed with this stuff. And it's amazing. It's beautiful when you can feel that inside yourself and you realize, like, okay, I did it. I did the work on this particular thing.
Yeah. That happened to me too, you know, going along the theme of impermanence and changing, and sitting with the sensation and allowing it to pass, you know, like a cloud in the sky that, you know, doesn't always last. It's like there for a moment. And a moment in time can be very relative, because like Goenka was, you know, at after the 45-minute mark, he's like, every minute feels like an hour.
Yeah. He was right. A lot of those times, you know, it's like, oh man, like, come on, start training, my guy.
Yeah. Like, where's the cat? Yeah, you know, there were even times where at first, you know, the first few days I had this pain, it was a sharp sensation, like the throbbing, piercing in my left leg. And so then eventually I got a pillow, you know, another cushion to sit my left leg. And then, you know, I sat. And then after a while, I still had that same sensation. And then I started having it, you know, in other places. But then I started looking around and paying attention to, okay, our instructor is sitting just with that one little cushion, you know, and then the lady is sitting with like nothing. They're both in different positions, but they're sitting there for hours. You know? Hours.
Pencil straight, like pencil straight.
Erect, the spine, the line, you know? So I was like, okay, somewhere along the line it clicked. It was like, okay, maybe it's not the pillows. Maybe it's not even the position. What if it's the perception?
It is. Hey.
And that was a game changer for me, because when I did what you said, Joseph, and I just sat with it and I said, okay, no, I'm just going to sit. I don't care. Aditana, right? The strong determination.
Yeah.
The sitting of strong aditana. Sitting. And it was like, after a while, that sharp sensation, just like you said, it dissipated. It dissolved. It slowly went away. And it was like, I got to this point where
it's like a softening, you know?
Yeah.
It's still there, but it's like, oh, it's lost its edge.
Right.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
you're right. It's the observation. It's the perception. It's the attitude of detachment. It's
Mm.
okay. This is a pain right now.
Mhm.
It's a pain. You know, it's causing me. It's causing my nerves to send me a signal. Right.
Mhm.
And the reason for that is because I'm trying to sit straight and be still for an hour.
Mhm.
And this is what I'm here to do. And there's a reason for this. And it's neither good nor bad. It just is what it is, right? That is that's no small feat, right?
Right.
That takes a lot of strong determination, right? As Goenka put it. And it says, and that involves, by the way, that involves, I think, when you sit down and you close your eyes and you find that position that you're going to be in,
Mhm.
that's the thou shall not pass. That is the putting your foot down. It's like, okay, here I am.
Right.
Here I am. I'm going to sit through this at all cost.
Mhm.
No matter what happens, I'm gonna stay still,
Mhm.
and I'm going to just observe. Things are going to be bad. Things are going to be good too. I might feel a really pleasant tingle, or I might, feel a pain dissipate, and it's going to be my tendency to judge that as good.
Mm.
But that's another kind of trap, right? Because, okay, now we're looking at our pain as a good thing, right? It's like, no, it's just pain. It's just there, right?
Mhm. Right.
And I also used to ride a bike for a long
Mhm.
distance, and that's one of the things they taught us is, or when I was training, it's like, if your legs start hurting when you're riding your bike uphill, it's because you're riding your bike uphill. It's not because there's something wrong with you, and there's no reason to get overly stressed out or worried about the way your legs are hurting. You just kind of tell them to shut up, and you keep on going up the hill. And that's, I didn't realize it at the time, but that's, amazingly meditative,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I called upon that a lot when I was sitting on the mat trying to get through those sits.
Mhm. Just telling your legs to shut up.
Yeah. But, I think that's a little bit, different than the Vipassana, right? You're not telling your legs to shut up.
Mhm.
You're just accepting the fact that they're talking to you.
Yeah. And there was a point where even though my legs were talking, it was like the longer I just sat in that position, at a certain point, it was as if my body was like, okay, I guess he's not gonna move.
Yeah,
What do we do?
exactly.
Like he's not moving. The signal is sent, but
Yeah,
nothing's happening. Like,
yeah,
he's
yeah,
just sit there.
yeah.
It was like it realized that that wasn't working.
Right.
It was like,
So it stops,
yeah.
surprisingly enough.
Hmm. Wow.
Amazing,
Wow.
amazing.
So you did say, Joseph, that there were times where you used affirmations. You told yourself, okay, I can do this. I got this.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. I had to. It really kind of helped me get through some of the difficult times.
Yeah. Hmm.
And these are familiar mantras to anyone who's taken a yoga class or who's done any type of guided meditation or guided breath work. Is you know I'm okay. I'm in a safe place here.
Yeah.
I signed up. Furthermore, I signed up for this. This is what I asked for. I knew this was going to be difficult. Big shocker. It's real
Mhm.
difficult, right? And just, I think those type of things really help to um, develop that sense of detachment and that sense of equanimity is having those things to kind of fall back on and tell yourself, because that voice inside our head, it's so
Yeah.
powerful, so powerful.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and what we choose to do with it really kind of dictates what our reality will be. And if we can kind of remember those things to help us through troubled times, those are, for me anyway, I'm a big proponent of sound healing and what sound can do to the mind.
Yeah.
And a big part of that are the sounds that we make on our own with our own internal voice and that internal dialogue that has a frequency. I see Luke is on here, and we were talking about this, how, yes, hello, dude. We were talking about how your inner voice has a frequency as well. And that's something that needs to be cultivated, and your awareness of that is key. You can use your voice and your inner monologue and your inner sounds to your advantage a lot.
Sure. For sure. Would you call that like part of rhythmic alchemy?
100%. Yeah, that's 100% the kind of the inspiration behind what I do as a teacher, and how I choose to introduce meditation to folks is using that sound and using the idea of vibration and energy that you produce on your own or from outside sources.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big part of what I do. And I think sound is the most amazing, beautiful medicine there is. And anyone who's been to a great concert, who has been inspired by a great speaker, or who plays an instrument and can feel it in their soul, as the way they express themselves, anyone like that knows what I'm talking about. And I think most of us have been moved by some type of sonic experience in our lives, whether it be the advice of a loved one, or maybe words whispered in your ear from a loved one, or someone that you respect, or a great concert, or perhaps the sound of the rain, the sound of the waves, the sound of the wind in the trees. These are all magical things.
Yeah. I was even using the sound of like the crunch, as I was walking in the snow.
Love it.
To kind of continue that rhythmic alchemy as I was alchemizing those affirmations in my own mind, reciting myself. One of the mantras that I used was, all that I need is within me now. And this was during the days where, it was the harsh winds with that cold, the wind chill.
Man, it got cold there for a minute. It got cold.
Bro, like walking up that hill, man, I was breathing. And, since we couldn't talk out loud, I would just do it with the breath. And so I was like, I love my life. All I need is within me now.
Yeah.
All I need is within me now. And I kept over and over and over.
Yeah, and that's true. And that's true. And I love that one. I love that mantra. Everything that you need is within you right now, because I feel like that gets you through a difficult time. And it also helps you understand, if you have a memory in your mind, if you have something that keeps on coming up at a certain situation, and you notice this, that memory, no matter how small or insignificant it may seem, it's there for a reason. And it's in your conscious field for a reason. Yeah. And that reason is that the nature of the world, the nature of consciousness, is to evolve and expand. And your higher consciousness wants to help you do that. You have to allow it. And it provides us with these memories. It hangs on to certain things as fuel for your own growth. And it's up to you to kind of reach up and grab that fruit, That's what it's there for, right? And I think that is really embodied with that mantra. I have everything I need within me right now. And it's true. We all do. We have what we need inside. But it takes an equanimous eye to go in there and kind of, translate it all.
Yeah. To be aware of what's already there.
Exactly. And respect it and treat it for what it is. It's like, oh, that memory of that thing that happened in second grade, it seems like it's nothing, but let me look at that like a detective. Let me look at it as if I wasn't there experiencing it. Let me look at it simultaneously pushing all the emotions away I have about that memory. And let's look at it and see what exactly happened, and ask some hard questions about it. Like, hey, I may have felt like a victim in that instance, but what did I do to contribute to that? How did I create that moment for myself? these are the type of questions that we can start asking ourselves once we learn to detach ourselves from the memories and quit grasping on so hard.
Yeah.
And I think that's really what is meant with that mantra. You know, I have everything I need
Okay.
in me.
Okay. So it's like, it's with that acceptance comes accountability.
Oh, that's a tough pill to swallow,
Yeah.
but it's so true. It's so true. It's like, oh man, wait a minute. Like, this is all me. And I think that's the very reason why day 5 of that Vipassana course was so tough. Man, I was having a hard time after that discourse.
Woo.
Woo.
Yeah.
That's all you can do is just kind of make that noise, because you realize, like, oh yeah, it's all me, and it always was all me, and it always will be all me.
Wow.
And that's an incredibly stark and exposed position to take with yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know, go ahead.
And you can soften, but when you learn to soften into it, it's also the most empowering. You know, when you have the courage to take that accountability and say, like, no, you know, yeah, that was all me, and I did all that. But by that same token, that means I can change it.
Yes. Yes. You take your power back, you know?
Yeah.
That's
so it feels like you're letting it go, right? It feels like there's this, like, oh man, like, but then at the same time, it's like, oh man, you know?
Yes. That is one of the most powerful and profound realizations, you know, just knowing that, just the fact that, okay, if it's all up to me, then it's all up to me. But then also it's like, oh, well, then
it's
that
all
means
up to me.
Yeah.
You
know, like, do it. You know, it can be done. It gives you that sense you're powerful instead of powerless. You know, we're powerless when we externalize that misery. What he kept on saying, your misery is your misery.
It's yours. It's yours. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's incredibly powerful, and I think that kind of leads into something else that he was talking about, Goenka, I mean.
Mm-hmm.
Once we get past that and we realize that our power has come back, I think that's when the reverence for the precious nature of our lives and every moment that we have, I think that's when that kicks in.
Mm-hmm.
When we start really respecting life and really cherishing every present moment that we have, I think that is what comes next. You know, it's like we have no time to waste.
Wow.
There's no time to waste. We need to get to work. We need to get to work on ourselves. We need to get to work on, you know, helping other people find their own way, because it's going to be different. You know, what doors can we open? What can we expand? How can we grow? No time to waste.
Yeah. Yeah. And he even stressed that point, you know, when the days were coming to a close, you know, day 7, day 8, day 9, he was letting people know each time, like, make best use of the facilities, make best use of the time, like, make best use, keep working, you know.
You have 8 days left to work.
Yeah.
Work
yeah.
ardently.
Yeah. Vigilant, you know.
Seriously.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No joke, man. And I'm glad he was there saying that every night. You know, at the beginning, it's like, you have 9 days left to work, and it's like, oh man, 9 days. I'm literally gonna die. But, you know.
Yeah.
But I'm glad he was doing that, because that was a good reminder. Like, this moment will change. You know, it's the whole theme of the thing. You know, anicca, change.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So take advantage, right?
Yeah.
You've got this time left. Make sure that you get the most out of it, and I feel that coming out of there. I feel that
for sure. You know, before you even took this course, how do you feel like meditation itself profoundly impacted your life in such a way that you eventually said, you know, I want to teach this. You know, this is something that I want to make a part of my regimen for the rest of my life?
it was the results that I got
Okay.
right off the bat, and the immediate results for me was I realized that I had opened up a new piece of real estate in my mind.
Mm.
The space that's developed from just equanimously watching what's going on in your body and in your conscious field. I didn't really anticipate that, nor did I know anything about it.
Mm.
And what I'm talking about is the space that allows you to just view things as they are, and understand the way your mind works, and understand how the behavior of your ancestors and the treatment that your parents gave you, and understanding how that all comes into play. Those for me were the first things that I kind of noticed about myself when I think I was probably meditating for 2 or 3 weeks before I noticed any like real, and this is daily meditation twice a day. And that's when 2 or 3 weeks in is when I started really noticing tangible space open up in my mind. And I started to gain this understanding of my mind just through experiencing it. And it's like, yeah, we can be told about this process a million times, and it's intellectual at that point. But when you get in there and you actually start observing, and you just start looking around in your mind without judging or without labeling, that's the experiential part. And then all those things that you've heard about, they become real for you. And you realize that you're on your own journey that's different from anybody else's. And that's an incredibly powerful moment. And for me, I realized that, through mindfulness and thinking about my memories, and like a detective, I realized that the thing I liked about my old career was teaching people meaningful skills. As a chef, I spent a lot of time teaching folks how to cook, and I was doing this knowing full well that I was helping them in the immediate situation of being at work and being able to complete the tasks that needed to get done. But if you teach someone to cook, you're also teaching them skills that they can take into the rest of their lives and use to help themselves and do good in the world. And that's really what kept me in the kitchen for so long. It wasn't the long hours or any of that other stressful stuff. It was the passing on of information. And when I got honest with myself, I realized that was it for me. And I realized that I was the happiest when I was teaching someone. I was the happiest when I was passing on skills and helping someone improve their process in some way. And all of a sudden, months into my practice, I realized, oh, you gotta turn around and teach this to people. Yeah. You gotta turn around and show folks to do this for themselves the way you just did it for yourself. And that's what you need to be doing here, and that's what you can do. And there's no looking back after that.
Nice. Nice. I love it. Paying it forward to the next person, being able to transfer that energy, that's beautiful.
Absolutely. That's beautiful. And coming to that realization with using the practice as well. It's like, okay, this is a way to not only heal, but this is a way to reintroduce yourself to yourself and discover your purpose.
Yeah.
And something that I didn't really understand at first when he said it, but my teacher, he told me, his story was that he started, meditation and yoga to meet a girl. He thought it would be good for his social life. And instead he started doing it, and he did meet the most important person in his life, but it wasn't a girl, it was himself. And that's what happens when you get serious with meditation. You sign up to meet yourself.
Wow.
And that's an amazing benefit of the practice.
Wow. That's power. He was looking for himself the whole time.
Yeah, and that person was found, He found
yeah. I love it because it's like everywhere you go, there you are. But it's like, how well do you...
Yogi Berra, right?
Yeah.
That's Yogi Berra quote. I love that. Yeah.
But how well do we really know ourselves?
Right.
At our core? So thank you for illustrating that, Joseph, when you talked about one of those, the biggest underlining themes that Goenka displayed was that, something can be intellectual, it can be in the mind, but if it's experiential on the actual level, that's when you can actually apply it. That's when it applies to you. It's not anyone else's testimony, it's your own,
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, book knowledge is one thing, and street knowledge is another.
Right.
You combine those two, and you've got a full spectrum experience, and that's, I think, when things start to hit home.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And a lot of this turning inward, a lot of this self-healing is experiential, and you need to do the work on your own, because your journey is your own.
Okay. Wow.
And
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
You're right. Your journey is your own. Everyone is on their own path, on their own purpose, and just thank you for being in service.
It is my privilege and honor to be a steward of the information that I teach, and the meditative skills that I help people with. It's a privilege, and like I said, the biggest honor ever to be able to help folks with this, because I know how impactful it can be, and I know that this is real healing, and it's not always easy.
Right.
And it's meditation is quite a simple process, but for whatever reason it can be the hardest thing in the world to sit down and do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it involves stepping out of your comfort zone and stepping inward, which is kind of a weird thing, but that's scary. And like I said earlier, the ego is clever. It will try to talk you out of doing work on yourself.
For sure. There's many ways. Yeah. Many methods of doing that. Yeah. And you just reminded me too, there's a quote by Blaise Pascal, when you talk about the difficulty of this and why it's not easy for everyone. Blaise Pascal, I remember hearing it said, all of humanity's problems stem from our inability to sit by ourselves in a room alone, And when I read that,
man, that hits. Man, that hits.
It was
wow.
Like, all of them? Like, no, not a few of them, like all of them, That's
all
what
of
he
them.
said. All.
Man, that's good. Love it.
So if somebody's listening to you right now, they've been very impacted, and they're also enthused to want to take a course of their own, to have their own eye-opening experiences with Vipassana, what would you advise them,
Be gentle.
Okay.
Be gentle with yourself. This is a delicate, tender process. Mm-hmm. And when you're going in there and you're looking at all of your things, you're taking inventory, just be gentle with yourself. And don't forget that compassion is key here. You need to let yourself off the hook for these things. You need to be okay with forgiving yourself. Like, maybe you didn't act the way that you would have now, but you can look back on it and you can use it as fuel to get better. And being just be gentle with yourself.
Yeah. That's the message.
Mm-hmm.
That's the message. Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you, brother. Thank you so much once again for coming on.
So good to see you, dude. Yeah. So good.
Sharing your story with us, and just, oh man, if this is someone's first time seeing you, Joseph, where would you like people to go? If you have any services for anybody, anything that you have going on that you would like people to come, or if you just give guidance, where would you like people to go to receive that?
Yeah, so you can visit my website. You can check out my pro Instagram page. It's in my profile. It's Rhythmic Alchemy, rhythmic-alchemy.com, rhythmic_alchemy on Instagram here. And I typically try to post a few things a week just to kind of get people thinking and get people's perspective, moving in the right direction. And of course, I also offer private meditation instruction if you're curious about learning how to meditate. Essentially, my goal is to help you get comfortable with that and to give you all the tools that you need to start a daily practice on your own and to stick with it, because that can be the hard thing is getting something going and then doing it for 90 days and getting it, you know, ingrained as a part of your lifestyle. That's where the magic happens. And I think meditation is the best medicine out there, but it's not a silver bullet and it's not a quick fix. It takes a lot of practice and it takes dedication and discipline in order to get the real results. And my goal is to help people develop that for themselves. So if you're curious about learning how to meditate and you're curious about what sound can do for you, I can definitely help you.
Awesome. Awesome. So y'all definitely go check out his page, you know, check out everything that he has for you. And just thank you. Thank you for that message as well, because you're right. You know, it's not a quick fix. It's not a quick pill, you know, but meditation is definitely medication, you know.
100%. Yeah.
So thank you for bringing this fresh perspective, increasing the awareness of the collective. You know, we need this. We need this.
Absolutely. That's we have to expand, right? We need to move in the direction that nature is moving, and that's expansion, that's evolution, that's change, and resisting that is what gets us in trouble, right? So let's move in that same direction.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. Agreed.
Thank you so much for having me, man. And
all right.
we got to do this again.
We have to. We have to. So much more, you know.
Yeah. Lots more to talk about.
It's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, my brother.
All right.
Thank you.
Take care. Take care.
You too.
All right. Awesome.